What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of the 5 Takeaways, where we're going to take a look at the 1-0 win away at Watford and see what takeaways we can take away from the game. We got Sim here. It's a 1-in, 1-out situation here at We Are Tottenham TV. I was out last week. Sim's out this week. But how are you feeling, Sim?
Yeah, I feel fine. I just got a bit of a cough. They seem to have they've synced up our COVID positive cases so that we're not missing too much of the studio at the same time. But yeah, look, I feel fine. It is what it is. I was at the game yesterday, but after I was tested positive, so I'm going to have to isolate for a week. So here I am.
It's nice of them to be so considerate to We Are Tottenham TV, isn't it?
Yeah,
1-in, 1-out.
apparently COVID is considerate for these things. You know, only if you eat a restaurant outside, they won't touch you, all these kind of things. So it's all good.
All right, well, let's get into the 5 takeaways. And the first one we're going to look at is wing-back problem.
So, yeah, it's no secret yesterday. Tottenham attacked a lot down the wings yesterday. That was pretty much where we were getting most of our joy when getting in on the Watford back four. They were very much clogging up the central areas. We weren't able to get through that way. So we relied very heavily on our wing-backs to get forward and provide quality from wide areas to get chances on goal. And unfortunately, that quality wasn't really there. The wing-backs put in 19 crosses between them yesterday, with only 5 being accurate, all 5 of them being from Emerson. Reguilon had 5 crosses yesterday, none of them being accurate. And to be honest, for me, I know Emerson's come up for a lot of criticism yesterday, and rightly so because of his quality. But for me, Reguilon is actually the one who struggled a lot more than Emerson yesterday. At least Emerson was getting on the ball and he was being an option, and he was always trying to put, even if the cross wasn't good enough, he was there to make the cross every single time. Every single time. He had the most touches on the pitch, 114 touches compared to Reguilon 60. So double the amount of touches Reguilon was there. So it just shows to me how Emerson was able to get into those positions a lot more frequently than Reguilon. In a way, he got into those positions to kind of be criticised more because Reguilon didn't actually put in that many crosses compared to Emerson. Emerson actually had 6 key passes compared to Reguilon's 1. And I actually thought, for me, both of them definitely need big improvement quality-wise. But if I was to take one performance, I'd rather have Emerson put in 5 accurate crosses out of 14 than Reguilon 0 out of 5, 100% every time.
I mean, he always seemed to be out there on the right flank in acres of space, didn't he, Emerson? He was always there in the right positions. It's just a shame that his crossing really did let him down on the day. I mean, if we had good deliveries in the box yesterday, I think we would have won that game convincingly. Yeah,
for sure. And in fact, again, it goes to show for me, like, as a system, we were able to create many openings through a system. It was the quality that was lacking. Yeah. I think Conte's system was there for all to see. If we had Reece James or Trent Alexander-Arnold, a right back, obviously they're hard to find. But we just had someone who was competent at crossing, like, on a regular basis. It's Trippier. So we had Trippier yesterday. We would have created 2 or 3 very good chances in that first half for sure. We would have had all the time in the world to create chances. So I think Conte's system definitely lends to space opening up in the wide areas, but we just didn't have the quality, and that's down to the personnel.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I said the exact same thing pretty much word for word in the player ratings and used Trippier and Trent Alexander-Arnold as examples. So, yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on, to be honest. But look, let's move on. And first of all, actually, on that point, it feels as though like Conte is kind of juicing out everything he can with this squad at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And when it comes to Reguilon and Emerson, they're still very new to these roles. They're both used to be playing at fullback, not wing-back. And so they are being asked to attack a lot more. And they're still getting used to it. So things aren't going to be as smooth. But hopefully, given time, they'll get... And I think when it comes to Emerson, I don't think it's a case of whether we think he's good enough or not. He's still young. He's got time. I just think he needs competition. We need someone who we're able to bring in instead of him, to make him up his game as well, as much as we need it for the team. I think Emerson's a talented player. He just needs a lot of things ironing out. We need another right back as competition for him, not necessarily to replace him.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the second takeaway, and that is Watford under control.
So obviously a lot has been made as well yesterday of our lack of chances created, but I think maybe we don't get enough credit for how we nullified a Watford team that do like to score goals, have been able to cause a lot of better teams some trouble as well going forward. When you look at the stats yesterday, in terms from a Watford point of view, during their season, we restricted them really, really badly. They had their lowest XG of the season yesterday. They had the least shots that they've recorded in any game yesterday. They've had the least touches in the final third of any game yesterday, and the least touches in the opposition penalty area than any game. So it really was pure domination from Spurs, and Watford really struggled at all to get in the game, apart from the one shot they had, which Hugo was equal to, but that was from 25 yards. So definitely Watford were nullified.
The thing is with Watford, I felt like they changed their game massively yesterday to kind of stifle Spurs, and that probably contributes to them not creating enough. I mean, they just played such a low block, so compact. They defended really well on the day, but they really changed their game completely to come play Spurs, didn't they?
I wouldn't say so. I think they usually like to sit deep and hit on the counter attack, and we just nullified their counters big time. We didn't allow. I think we were actually really aggressive off the ball. Like when Watford would win the ball back, we very quickly would turn it back over in our favour, and that's to our credit. And I think that maybe goes under the radar, because I've seen Watford hit a number of teams on the counter attack quite effectively, and they didn't really have that yesterday at all.
True. Maybe, they were missing like players like Ismail Assar, who's massive for them on the counter. But look,
went off at half-time, did he?
Pardon?
Dennis went off at half-time.
And Dennis went off at half-time as well. So, yeah, they were missing some key players there, Watford. But credit where credit's due, because they didn't hurt us yesterday whatsoever. But let's move on to the third takeaway, and that is Conte's solid base.
So when Conte first came in, he was talking about how he needs to, as much as we need to, obviously creating chances and all that needs to be improved, which it has improved as well. But he said, first and foremost, he needs Tottenham to have a solid foundation to build on, and something that we know in every game, even if we're not going to win, we're going to be very hard to play against and very hard to score against. And that has shown in the stats. Since Conte's taken over, no one has conceded fewer goals than Tottenham with 4 goals. Only Man City and Liverpool have taken more points than Tottenham since Conte's taken over. And he's now got 5 clean sheets in his last 8 games. And that is showing that Conte's building a base in terms of from Spurs. Yes, yesterday we struggled to create, and that's something we're going to have to address. But again, another clean sheet. We never looked like conceding pretty much throughout the whole game. And that is part of how Conte's trying to build this team. And he's doing it with players which, a lot of people wanted gone. And he's doing it hopefully with improvements to come this January. So for sure, Conte's creating that solid base he said he was going to.
Do you think that it's very impressive, the solid base that Conte has provided, or do you think that maybe, Conte's had kind fixtures since coming in?
Both. I think he has had kind fixtures, but look, every team in the Premier League causes its own problems, and I think we've been able to deal with most of them really, really effectively. 5 clean sheets out of 8. Those 5 clean sheets don't come easy. They're not just simple things. You don't just turn up and, we're playing this one, so it's a clean sheet. We've been really solid at the back, and it's not just that. And it's not a case of, sometimes it's not like a case of, for example, when United played Norwich, they got battered, but they end up with a 1-0 win. A clean sheet. Look how this, you can say clean sheet, but they actually didn't defend that well. They're very lucky. But look, if you look at the XG we've conceded, it's really, really low every single game. We're barely conceding really good quality chances, and when we do concede chances, they're very well worked from the opposition. We're not giving up very easy opportunities. So I think it's very impressive from Conte how he's got this team going.
Yeah, and it's no coincidence that in all the player ratings pretty much since Conte, or the majority, let's say, not all of them, a lot of the player ratings since Conte's come in were Hugo Lloris had hardly anything to do. The defenders, defended well, but, they weren't really tested that much. And, that's a big credit to Conte, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously. And Hugo yesterday showed even though he didn't have much to do, when he was called upon, he was on top of things. He was sharp and he was ready to be called into action. And he only had 2 things to do, but what he did was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and if Ramsdale does those saves that Lloris makes, we're seeing save of the seasons on Twitter and all that.
They're
Literally.
making a documentary out of it, honestly. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the fourth takeaway, and that is Son's underrated form.
So I've realised Son of late has come under quite a bit of criticism for his performances of late, and I think he hasn't been maybe at his sharpest, especially last few games. But if you look at his form in terms of goal contributions, like you can't say anything. In his last 6 league games, he's got 4 goals and 3 assists, and he, despite maybe in general play his touch occasionally has let us down, and he could do better with a few other situations. He's still the only one, not the only one, but he's still like providing the goals and assists the team needs. And yesterday, when we really needed a bit of quality, which would have been lacking throughout the whole game, he won the free kick. And he whipped in what was an absolutely sensational free kick. Doesn't get enough credit for that cross. Right on a plate for Sanchez to just to poke home. It was pretty much at that point easier to miss than it was to score for Sanchez. So I think Sonny deserves a bit more credit for how he's contributing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I was saying in the player ratings as well that, maybe Sonny's touch might be off at the moment and he's not as sharp as he has been that we've seen him in a Spurs shirt before. But he's producing in every game. Like you say, that cross, he's scoring in more or less, the last game when he scored a goal and he didn't play too well. So, yeah, for more times than not, he's getting in good positions. You can see the effort he's producing and you can see in the stats as well. Assists yesterday, goals in the previous games. And yeah, he's like, as much as his touch is off, you just can't take him off as well because you know what quality he has and you know how he can produce.
Yeah, and so I think other players probably deserve criticism before we start ever thinking about criticising Son at this point.
Completely agree. And the last and final takeaway, that is the fifth takeaway, and that is North London derby opportunity.
So yeah, it's a really big opportunity now in this North London derby. Spurs sit 2 points behind Arsenal with 2 games in hand. But so the next league game right now is the North London derby. And we go into this with obviously the first North London derby in front of a full crowd as well, which the atmosphere should be absolutely rocking. It should be an absolute cauldron. If we could win and beat Arsenal and go a point ahead of them with 2 games in hand, I think psychologically that means so much. Going into the run, and that'll give us a lot of confidence knowing we have those 2 games as well. And I think going into this game, we have to see it as a game where it's going to be interesting because in theory, Conte probably should go into this game as a must not lose, because even if we draw, we'll be 2 points behind with 2 games in hand. And I guess the most important thing is not to lose, because if we lose, that's 5 points, 2 games in hand, and it becomes a bit more tricky. So I wonder if Conte's thinking, is it a must not lose, or does he just see it as an opportunity of, let's just go for the win? Because if we get a win and go above them with 2 games in hand, that would be absolutely massive for us psychologically. And also he could be thinking, even we could go for the win, and even if we do lose, we still could go above them if we win our 2 games in hand. So I hope he goes for the win. But it's whatever way you look at it, it's a massive opportunity.
Yeah, I think at home he will go for the win. We've had really good home form this season, barring 2 games against Man United and Chelsea. So I think at home we will be going for the win. And I was speaking last night to a friend, and I was saying the draw is definitely a much better result for us than it is for Arsenal. And you know what? At this stage of the season, even if we do beat them, there's still so much more football left to play, and anything can happen, can't it? So it's such a non-pivotal time of the season, isn't it, Sim, to play Arsenal at this stage? But still, at this stage, it's a massive game, isn't it?
It's a non-pivotal time, but I remember, if you go back to that Leicester, I know we're not in a title race, but if you go back to that Leicester season, when we played, I think it was about a similar time. It was about January, wasn't it? We played Leicester to go above them, right? I think we were 2 points behind Leicester, and we could have beaten them to go first. We end up losing, and we go 5 points behind, and we were never able to catch them up the whole way. We were playing catch up the whole season, and these things can play a big psychological blow, even at this stage. So, obviously, look, there's a lot of games to be played. We have to also those games in hand we have to play, obviously. But I think psychologically, if we go above them with 2 games in hand, I think that'll be a big blow for them. Big blow, because they're having a great season so far from their standards. They've been, getting a lot of praise, and they've been that belief is within the camp. You can see it 100%. But if they have all that hard work and then all of a sudden we beat them and they're all of a sudden behind us with 2 games in hand, I reckon psychologically that's a big blow for them, because they're all that hard work and they're still behind us with 2 games in hand.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, if we can push that gap to 8 points and win those 2 games in hand, that would be massive. I think that would be massive to put an 8-point gap between us and Arsenal in kind of February stage of the season. I think that would be massive for us. I really do. So that is our 5 takeaways. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding our takeaways. If you have your takeaways as well, anything that we missed out, do put it in the comment section below. Sim, I'll see you very soon. Stay sane during your isolation. I know it was very hard for me, but yeah, we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.